what you're thinking. This girl, it is waiting months for a review she said she was gonna post in a couple of weeks. At this point, guys, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know what to say, because I do want to do it. I do want to be consistent, but somewhere, pray with me. Just pray with me, because I don't know why I've been sitting on this review, because I read the story a long time ago, like March or Feb even. I don't know why I've been dragging to just record the review. But yeah, we're doing Unspoken today. This is story number 4 from our A Lineage of Grace book. We have 5. I've done 3 reviews. This is review number 4, and then after that I'll be left with 1 more. I'm hoping I can stay consistent. Let's see. I'm trying to stay consistent. It's like, it's giving you're not serious about life, but I am serious about life. Okay, so Unspoken is about Bathsheba, and one thing I'm not going to do is get into like all the intricate details, because I think she really does write in depth about David as well, because then it will make sense if like it's your first time reading the story or learning about Bathsheba and stuff. So she does go in depth about David as well, but I just want to focus on Bathsheba. Remember, we're saying God is a girl did, so I do want to focus on our girl and the lessons that I learned from her story, because also with David there's like a lot, especially because this all starts when David was in the wilderness. So he's been God has anointed him as king, but he's not king yet, because Saul is trying to kill him, because Saul doesn't want to give up the kingdom, blah blah blah. So it's a lot. There's a lot of like wars, there's a lot of like fights, because also David, he had to fight, he had to get where he was, he had to like fight for his title, even though God gave it freely to him, but to really like operate in it, there was a lot of fighting he had to do, even as a king, to protect God's people, right? And there's a lot of mistakes there on David's side, so it is a lot. I just want to focus on Bathsheba. So the story starts with Bathsheba, and she's 8 at this point, and she already has a crush on David. That's the first part that literally broke my heart, because I was always under the assumption that David kind of took advantage of Bathsheba. So this was just like, ma'am, you were the one who had feelings for him? Girl, I thought we were a victim here. So yeah, she had a crush on him. This is the time where David is in the wilderness. So her dad is friends with David. Her grandfather is his like army advisor, and so like David is almost like a family friend of some sort. And so when the granddad is with David and the dad, and they're just talking about all the strategies for wars and everything, she's there, you know, because she's there with the grandfather of the dad. And the whole time girl was just thinking, such a fine man, I want to marry this man. And I'm like, girl, you 8, you are 8. But also they got married pretty young back in the day, so it doesn't make sense. Now it's like, no, don't think about it at all. But yeah, so she has a crush on him, and she's always like, even when they put her to bed, she does sneak out to go listen to him, because David was a worshipper, right? He would just sit alone and start worshiping, and then everyone would just come and sit around him and just worship with them, because it was just like, he did the things when it came to like worship. So she would sneak out, and her mom would find her, and eventually the mom found out that, hey, this girl kind of has a crush on David. And at this point, David is already married to Saul's daughter. Remember, Saul gave David his daughter for killing Goliath. So he's already married to Saul's daughter, and he's already, when the story starts, he's already married to Abigail as well. So the mom is like, why would you want a man with 2 wives? And he's a king, he's gonna get more wives. Wouldn't you want to get a man who's like just your man? I was like, listen to your mom, because she's right. But girl was just in love with David, and even as she was growing, she was always trying to do those little things to get his attention, but David didn't see her like that. I'm like, cause you 8, it would have been weird. But so she's doing all those things, David's just like not looking at her like that, until obviously she gets into her like her teenage years. And when she's a teenager, she tries to be like a little bolder, but still she Shimane, guys, men are blind, man. David was just not seeing her for who she wanted him to see her as. And eventually as she grows older, she's just like, clearly this man, because also at this time David is marrying other wives, he has concubines, like a lot, and she's just like, at this point I just have to give up on this man because he clearly don't want me. I can't keep doing this to myself. So she gives up. Well, she just kind of stops acting out for him, or like giving him those signals, and just acknowledges that she might never get a chance with them at all, right? And then when she's a teenager, that's when her dad arranges for her to marry Uyuria, right? I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure. But he was also like a commander in the army, or like a soldier with a high ranking in the army, and he was like faithful to God and all of those things, and the mom was like, this is your guy. So she clearly doesn't want Uyuria, but she's like, the one I want I won't get, so I might as well just take this one. And also it's important to note that Uyuria, because of how good he was in the battlefield, so he's also kind of friends with David, like they cool like that with David, right? So when they get married, obviously David is invited to the wedding, and it's like the whole ceremony, the whole feast and everything. And then that is when David decides that that's that time, that's the right time for him to start looking at Bathsheba like a woman or a little girl. That time when she's pledging her life to someone else, that's when David is like, she's beautiful, man, like she's beautiful. And she sees that look in his eyes, and she's like, you must be kidding me. I've wanted you for years, and you never did anything. You never looked at me like how you're looking at me now. And now that I've just signed my life over to this man, this is when you wanna... I was like, men stay doing weird stuff, hey? Men stay doing weird stuff. But yeah, a little eye contact situation happens, and she realizes, oh my word, he sees me that way. And it's like, it's too late now. I can't do anything about it. So she's like, you know what, it's fine. It's his loss. He could have had me as a wife, but he was slow. It's his loss. So she marries Uriah, and during this time they're just getting a lot of like attacks and a lot of like opposition from other people, you know. But they've settled down into a place that is now that they would call Jerusalem, right? They've settled down, but still other people from surrounding areas are still trying to attack them, and they know they've been given a bigger portion than what they have at that time, so they're fighting for what God gave them, right? And also it's important to know that at this time David is not exactly in a good space, because he feels like he had a much better relationship with God when he was a shepherd boy and just taking care of the sheep, and now it's like he's taking care of people, the wives. Like it's a lot, and it feels like he's not getting enough time to really like zone in and be like in the moment and just be like with God and spend quite time with God, like how he used to do when he was running away from Saul. He had so much time to worship then, and it almost feels he was in a space where he feels like he's not getting enough of that, because there's so many things, like so many demands, a lot of things demand his time, right? So he's not in the best place spiritually, right? But yeah, that happens. And my sister with Uriah, they don't get a child. They don't have a child. They married for years, and part of it I think was because Ugai was always at some battlefield or another. They just saw each other a couple of times a year. But even at that, when he's around, she was like the doting wife, taking care of him, hosting his friends, you know, doing all the things, wifely things. But she wasn't like caught up about not being a mom. She wasn't like in a rush per se. But even when the years start going by, she's like, okay, if this man dies in big, like, what's going to happen to his house, because we don't have a child, you know what I'm saying? So that also starts dawning on her to say, like, Lord, I know I wasn't like optimistic or happy when they said I should marry this man, but I do want to give him a son, someone who will inherit or continue with the surname or whatever. But yeah, they don't get a child, they don't get pregnant, but their marriage is good. Uriah loves her, respects her, adores her, dotes on her. Like he's not doing anything wrong at all. Like he is spot on as a husband. He's doing all he has to do. And it so happened that I think that what got to our girl is the frustrations of not having a child, and also, you know, when you with someone you don't love, I mean, you get to respect them, but it's like your heart really does beat for someone else. So our girl is also not in a okay spot. David is not in a okay spot, and one day she decides she's gonna take a bath on top of the roof because it's hot and all of those things, and she just wants to get some air and whatever. And so while she's bathing, David decides he's gonna go and stand on top of his roof and just look over the city and just, you know, he's bored because they were stopping him from attending the bagels with them because they were like, okay, so was Saul dead then? I'm not sure. But it was the thing where we don't want you to die as the king in the battlefield because then what's going to happen to us, kind of a thing. So you sit and we'll fight. And that was making him restless because he was not out with the men fighting. He wasn't getting time to spend with God because of the many wives and the many children that demanded his time. So he's like, I'm just going to take a walk and just stand by the roof. At the same time, while our girl is also going to go bath on her roof. And while she's bathing, David is just looking around and is like, it's a fine girl that's bathing there. I wonder who it is. So he starts watching. So that's how sin, you know, that's how you fall into sin. You think it and entertain it for like a minute, and then it starts spiraling from that point. You see why? Because he should have been like, oh, naked woman that I'm not married to, and just turn around. He didn't. He watched. He was like, she's fine. Like, she's made fine. And he just kept watching. And a girl can feel, okay, someone is looking at me. She looks up and she's like, oh, David. She hides a little bit. And then she's like, maybe you should see what he missed out on. And that's, you see what happens when you're sinning. It's like, it makes sense in the moment, but it's not something you should be doing. Because then she goes back and she's bathing and giving him a show, right? And David is watching. It is not like, he's not taking his eyes away from the whole thing. So both of them decide in different ways to indulge a part of their flesh that was vulnerable and weak in the moment, and it led to dire consequences. Okay, it led to serious things, because when she's done bathing, David sends people like, who is the woman who stays there? And they're like, oh, that's Uriah's wife, you know her. And it's like, oh, okay, send it up to me, like send it to my chambers. So they go there and they tell her, the king wants to see you. And she's thinking, oh my word, he's pissed that, you know what, I gave him a show and everything. So she's like, oh my word, I need to apologize, what was I thinking, blah blah blah. So they accompany her to the chamber. When she gets inside, before she even apologizes, she just sees the look in David's eyes and she understands, hey, there's no anger here, this one is not angry. Okay, so David is like, you're really beautiful. And she's like, I've always been beautiful. I've tried to make you see it, but you never saw it. You never saw me and stuff. And David is like, no, man, you're a child. Your grandfather is my army advisor. Your father is my friend. I couldn't have done that and everything. And but she was like, so why am I here? And then David's like, bro, I just want one night with you. Just why? Can we just? I don't want to be a king or what. I just want to be David and just be with you. And Bathsheba was like, okay, cool, I'm also down for the one night. So they do end up sleeping together. They do adult business. And in the morning, early in the morning, David is like, bro, I would love for you to sit here and have breakfast, but it's kind of, yeah, it'll make the news in the headlines if you, a married woman, was caught coming out of my chamber in the morning. So right now, while the servants are asleep, I need you. I'll get someone to accompany you. And they do get someone. He does get someone to accompany her. And she's like, for the first few days, she's walking on air because she's like, I did get one night with my man. You know, it's all good. It's all good. David's like, I also got it out of my system. So they're both thinking, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. Like, we sinned, but it wasn't like bad. Because what's the worst that could happen? Oh, let me tell you. What's the worst that could happen? Because she does end up falling pregnant from that one night. She never felt pregnant the multiple times she slept with her husband. The one time she decides to is when she falls pregnant. I was like, you see, one thing about doing things in the dark, when God decides to bring them to light, because now she's pregnant, but she hasn't seen her husband in 6 months. So, how else did you fall pregnant? How else did you fall pregnant, ma'am? Her husband hasn't been home in a couple of months. Whose baby is it? Right? So when she finds out she's pregnant, she's like, I can't even rejoice. I've been wanting a child, but I can't even rejoice because the math is not mathing. Okay? The math is not mathing, and I need to find a way for like some sort of solution. But I'm not obviously getting rid of the baby. That's not what I'm gonna do. So what does she do? She's like, I was not alone in this act. I'm gonna get my partner in crime and we're gonna fix it. So she writes him a letter and she's like, hi, Bathsheba here. I'm pregnant. That's it. She doesn't write a lot. She's just like, I'm pregnant. So David is panicking. He spends the whole night literally panicking and just going, God, like, bro, I've done so much for you, and this is the one time I need you to come through for me. You do this for me. He's panicking. It's just like he understands that for him there won't be any like consequences to the actions, but he understands that Bathsheba would get killed. She will be stoned to death for committing adultery, and they will pretend to David is the victim and all those like, oh, Shem, the king, always taking care of other people, and this woman just seduced him. I mean, she did, but he was a willing participant. Okay, so he understands that this girl is in she is in the risk of being killed should people find out about this. So he sleeps on it, and then in the morning he's like, I got it. I'm smart. So he sends word to the guys at the back of it, and he's like, hey, please bring Uriah to come to me, right? So they do that. Uriah comes like a day or two later, and when he gets there, David's like, oh no, I just wanted to find out how is it going in the battlefield. Like, you guys are taking so long. Like, is it like intense? And Uriah's like, I mean, we could have sent you a letter for this, but it's the king, right? So he gives David an update, and David's like, no, I'm proud of you guys. You guys are doing a great work. You can go and, you know, chill with your wife. So Uriah again is like, I mean, we don't really do that kind of a thing, because I'm gonna go back to Beko again. I can't go sleep with my wife and then go to Beko again. So he refuses and sleeps by the gate. And so what David does is he sends food already. Before he even sends Uriah home, he sends food so that when Uriah gets there, there's food and drink, and you know, he will do the things with his wife. So Uriah doesn't go home, and people tell him, they're like, by the way, Uriah's sitting by the gate with the other guards. He's not going anywhere. Right, so David sends someone to Bathsheba to say, hey, your man's around. I don't know how to get him home, so I feel like you have to take it from here. And so even Bathsheba just understands the plan, like, oh, he brought him here so I can sleep with him, and then we give the baby to him. It's not really an ideal plan for Bathsheba, because again, she has feelings for David. She loves David. She was hoping they can raise their child together, but she also understands she might not get that chance because she might get stoned to death. So she's like, I'm gonna take what I'm given. I'm gonna have a child by this man. I might not have the man, but I'll have his seed. I'll take that. So she goes to the gate to try and seduce the husband. But I think at that time the husband had been told, hey, by the way, we saw your wife here a month back. She slept over, so you know, because when she gets there and she's trying like, hey, are you gonna come home and stuff, she can just tell from his responses and his body language that he's disappointed, that he's angry and he's hurt. And she just, while talking to him, she also realizes, oh man, he knows, and she just does like, I'm sorry, right? And he's just like, just go. And he starts crying, and she's like, okay, please stone me. Like, you would rather stone. You have the right to stone me. Before other people in this place stone me, you stone me. And he's like, no, bro, I ain't gonna do that to you. Just go home. Okay, so she goes home and she sends words to David. She's like, he ain't coming home. Right, so the next day David's like, okay, well, he has to go home, one or the other. I'm gonna get him drunk and have him go home or something. So the next day he calls Uriah again, and it's like, hey, how was it resting, and how is it catching up with your wife? And Uriah's like, no, I didn't go there, and I'm not gonna go there because my teammates or my friends or my whatever they call each other in the army, they are out in the battlefield fighting. There's no way I'm gonna be enjoying the luxuries of being with my wife while this men actively fighting for this country. So no. So David's like, okay, come, let's drink. And David's just trying to get this guy drunk, and he does get drunk, but he doesn't go home. He sits again by the gate. So David is like, oh my word, this man is stubborn as a moon, because my brother, I kind of need you to be quick with it and go and impregnate your wife. But yeah, Uriah is just like, make me absent. So eventually David sends Uriah back with the letter. In the letter, he's instructing the army commander to put Uriah at the front so that he gets killed first. Okay, he's just like, put him in the front where it's most dangerous, because David is like, I have to, my child can't die, okay, and the mother of my child can die, so this is as far, or this is the best I can do, right? So even when he gives Uriah the letter and he sends Uriah back, I think that's also when David actually realizes this man knows something. From how Uriah said goodbye to him, like, he can tell this man knows I did something with his wife, and he's disappointed and he's hurt. And David is just like, my baby, bro, I was just, he obviously doesn't say it to Uriah, but like, he thinks, you know what, I just wanted one night, I didn't want it to go as far as it is gone now, you know. So he sends the letter with Uriah, and when Uriah gets there, the army commander puts him in the front and he gets killed, right? And when he gets killed, word comes home, because he was killed with a couple of other guys. Obviously, he didn't just die alone, with a couple of other guys. And so now there's other wives who are now widows, like Bathsheba, because of Bathsheba's thingy. And it's a relatively small town, relatively small group of people, so news is spreading fast. Some of it from guys from the back of it, because they're like, we've never even fought like that, we've never put people like that. I don't know why that was done. Like, this was intentional. They really wanted to kill this guy, because we've never put people in the front like that. And so word comes big, and the servants and everyone's just putting two and two and realizing how this one slept with the king and now the king is killing the husband. So Bathsheba enjoys a lot of like scorn during her morning time. Her mom comes after the mom learns that Uriah is dead, and like she learns what happened. The mom comes and curses her so bad. Like, it was so bad where the mom was like, I wish you nothing but death and pain. And the mom curses her and is like, I don't care what happens to you, you are dead to me, and I wish you could like physically die in place of the other husbands and Uriah that died. Innocent men died because of you, and because you couldn't control your feelings. So the mom is harsh in the case. Like, I was reading it and thinking, ma'am, it was an affair. I mean, it's wrong, but whew, that is hectic. That's your daughter, that's your child, that's your only child, right? Like, bro, no, not only child, she had brothers, but yeah, only girl, right? So that happens, and she has to obviously mourn before she goes to live with David. So during the morning, other wives spit on her, they curse her. She's almost like an outcast. Reading this part of the story made me so emotional. It really made me so emotional, because I think also because we are privy to the information before. She always wanted David, so when the opportunity came, it was like but it was like one night with this man wouldn't hurt. One. And now that one night is just, yeah, a lot of things are unfolding. She's lost her family, she friends, everyone is like, you on your own, right? And it was so painful. Like, it was really so painful to see how David's life wasn't affected much. His life went on as usual. Hers, on the other hand, was affected because no one wanted to speak to her, no one wanted to hang out with her. She's lost family, and it's almost like that one night has robbed you of so much more. And I think it's a lesson in general about how certain things are God's protection, and even if you do things thinking it's just for instant gratification, that could then open the door for so much more to go wrong. Whereas God was, it was probably in the plans for God, because she ends up giving birth to Solomon, right? So it was probably in the plans for God for that to happen, but she went about it the wrong way, and now she was in this mess. Okay, so when she's done mourning, she eventually moves to the palace, and all the other wives hate her. All the wives team up to hate her, except for Abigail, because she's older, and she's like, bro, this man is promiscuous. I'm not gonna fight for no man, okay? So she moves into the palace, and every wife hates her, and David can't spend nights with her because turns out back in the day when you're pregnant, the husband has no reason to keep coming to your room because you have conceived, so you need to wait until you give birth to him. But David will come. They used to sit in this room and do whatever they're doing, and David will come and sit by them one by one and just like spend time with them and stuff. And so she's going through it, but Abigail is comforting her because Abigail has been sent by David to say, hey, please check on this person, please make sure she's okay, this is new to her husband just died, it's a lot. But yeah, that happens. She endures all that until she gets back to her son, and she's like, okay, my son's here, all the other things don't make sense, they don't matter, my baby boy is here. And when the child falls sick, she's like, Lord, I know what I did. I understand my sin. I'm not confused. I'm not gonna blame David or anyone. I know that the flesh, my heart, my lust, my everything got me here, but please, this is my child. The child didn't do nothing. And even David fasts for the child. He refuses to eat and everything just to say, Lord, I get it. I killed a man and took his wife, but please, the child is innocent, right? So the child falls sick, and then eventually the child dies, and they are distraught, both of them, David and Bathsheba. Though David does stop the fast, and people are like, you were fasting when the child was sick but alive. Now that he's dead, who would think you would kill yourself as well? But he was like, when the child was sick, there was room for me to pray and bleed for my child. But now that the child is dead, there's nothing that God can do for the child, right? So he starts to comfort Bathsheba, but she's just like, I know it's my sins are the reason why I'm here. I shouldn't have done what I done. So there's a lot of like guilt and condemnation in the picture. And then Nathan, who was the prophet at the time, comes and explains to David and Bathsheba why God took the child, or why the child died. Because already Solomon was gonna come, right, and be the king. But this child, because of how the child was conceived, the other brothers, David's other children, we're not going to allow that child to be king, right? Because remember, the other wives that David has don't believe in God, so they are offspring. God didn't want their offspring to be the ones that take the kingship or whatever. So it was a thing where, one, that child was not going to be treated fairly. Two, that child was not going to be the king. There's so many things that were going to happen to the child that the child was saved from by dying, right? Because the brothers could have killed him, or there was just a lot. And God is like, that is why I was preparing for the future. I was saving you guys from the future, right? So that is why the child died. But yeah, that's it. That's nothing's gonna happen. But I'm just gonna take the child. And then after that, she falls pregnant again. I'm just like, girl, give yourself time to mourn. Ma'am, give yourself time to mourn. Like, when did you cry for your husband and child? You pregnant again? But yeah, she gets pregnant again, and this time she can't even celebrate it. She's scared. She's thinking she's gonna lose the baby. She's praying, like she prayed. But like, one thing about it, all her prayers were from a place of condemnation. Like, I know I did wrong, but and it's like, I feel like already at that point God had already forgiven her. When she repented the first time, God was like, cool, it's done. But she didn't realize that, and when she fell pregnant again, she just kept like, please, my child, my child, my child. And she gives it to Solomon, and she knows that God has forgiven her, because there was a name that he was given, that the prophet Nathan came with. I forget the name, but yeah, there was a name that Nathan came with and said, God said to name the son this name. So she knew, like, the fact that God is naming my son, me and God are on good grounds. And she'll go into her 4 sons with David. Even at that, even with like our Solomon and the 3 brothers being born in the palace, the other brothers were jealous of them. They were like, there was a lot going on. And because of what he did to Uriah, God has said to David, when you took someone's wife in private, I'm going to have your son sleep with your wives in public. Like, I'm going to embarrass you in public, right? So there was a time where one of his sons raped the other sister, the other son killed the other son, the son that was left conspired with the grandfather of Bathsheba to overthrow David. So there was so much chaos that happened after Solomon was born, like in terms of the throne and everything. But through it all, what Bathsheba did was she took her kids to the temple, to the prophet, so that the prophet raises them the way God wants them to be raised, because she understood also that there was an assignment on Solomon that she didn't want to fumble. So she will go on to be the mother of the future king, and how she raised her kids, how she made sure they grounded in God, how she read their father's psalms to them. Like, she was making sure, like, she didn't want what she went through or what she did, or like the mistakes that she made, she didn't want the kids to make them as well. So she was like, intentionally, now she raised them, she was like, you gave me these kids, but I'm giving them back to you, Lord, take them. So a lot happens. They get to a point where they have to run away, because Absalom was trying to overthrow his dad. But through it all, God saw David through, right? I love how I love David and God's relationship. How even if David messed up and he went back and repented and he dealt with the consequences, or he took the consequences and understood, okay, this is happening because I did this, and he was able to repent and change or turn around or change his ways and stuff. And eventually Absalom does die. I think Bathsheba's grandfather also died as well. He was the one who, even though they cut it off, he started plotting on how to destroy both David and Bathsheba. I'm like, she made a mistake, yes, but come on, she's your granddaughter. Why are you killing her? Why are you wishing ill upon her so much so you do things like this? It was giving weird. I'm like, I get adultery is a huge thing, but come on now, let he without sin cast the first one. Hey boo. But anyway, a lot happened, but through it all, David would then nominate or choose Solomon for him to take over. And even before he died, and when Bathsheba could see this one is dying, she got Nathan, Solomon, David in the room, and like, my brother, you promised my son that my son is going to be the king. You're going to make sure that happens before he dies. Because another son was already preparing himself as well to think, okay, this one is about to kick the bucket, I'm going to as well start preparing. So David was like, nah, Solomon is the king. He appointed him, he anointed him, and he crowned him before he died. And even when David died, Bathsheba still had this contentness with her. I think also her being married to David, it didn't pan out the way she thought it would. Like, it wasn't the wild romance that she had in her mind. She would learn to be his comfort, because this was the man with many wives. She would learn how to pray for him. She would learn how to not give her all to him, but give her all to God, and really just allow God to help her through all the stages that she had to go through as a wife to a king with many wives, and how to deal with the backlash or the consequences of what she did and everything. So the more she deepened her relationship with God, she got the wisdom and the understanding and the knowledge on how to deal with life in the palace, how to raise her children, and she got fulfillment from that. So much so, it wasn't even about being married to David that made her fulfilled. It was just all the other aspects that God showed her to say, hey, you this, you that, like, you're not just the wife here, you all these things. And she, from that contentment, she was able to love David without wanting anything back, or without expecting him to love her a certain way, or expecting him to do certain things. And because of that, I feel like the relationship deepened, because with him, David knew he could be himself, right? He could just be himself, and he could just let like his guard down and everything. And so they would go into have a friendship kind of marriage, where like not that they were friends, but they built a friendship even within the romance, a friendship that was calm and quiet and wasn't like wild and all over the place as she wanted it to. So yeah, another thing is when you start rooting yourself in the word of God, even your desires change. What you thought you wanted, what you thought was gonna fulfill you, you realize that ain't it. Only God, only Jesus Christ gives the fulfillment. So when she got that fulfillment, she was able to divide her attention in different directions, other than just sitting and waiting on David to give her the time of day. Okay, So David dies, and even at that, she's content. Her son is king. She continues to pray for all her sons until her last days. All her sons, all forth, when they knew the Lord, they feared the Lord, and she did her role. What the Solomons did after that, they did it on their own accord. She did her best. She raised them right. She raised them with the word of the Lord. Her parents didn't forgive her. Her siblings didn't forgive her. Her friends didn't forgive her. She just had God and her sons and David. That's all she had. They didn't come to apologize. They didn't come to like, oh, let's fix things, or none of that. She just had those guys, and that was it. And it was, I think it was said that she lost her family, but I think she also got another family. But I don't know. I just feel like I would want my parents in my life and my husband and my kids in my life. Like, I would want both, but she only could get one because the other side were like, nay. So yeah, that is the story of Bathsheba. She would go on to be a queen mother, a queen, then queen mother. She would go on to serve God. She would go on to know God in different ways, and I feel like she wouldn't have known God in those ways had she not done what she did. Right? It's like, yeah, she did this horrible thing, and there was like a huge fallout, and it's one for the books. Eh? We talk about it all the time. When you talk about David, you're like, but David saw a naked woman and killed a man. Blah, blah, blah. It's a story that lives in everyone's hearts, but from that point, from her point of weakness, from a point where she felt like she was undeserving, this is the point where God will redeem her. This is the point where God will show her, like, yeah, you did this wrong, but that doesn't cancel out what I had planned for you. Now that you've repented, me and you are gonna continue with this journey, and God will go on to give her more than what she had when she lost what she thought she lost. And she will go on to live a life that we can look at and take pointers and take lessons. She will go on to inspire a lot of women to know that, hey, doesn't matter what you did, your past doesn't define you. It's how you move on from that. It's how you pick yourself up. It's how you go back to God and say, hey, I was wrong, I did this, I'm sorry. And then you just keep it moving. And yeah, this is why we're speaking about it today. When we speak about Grace, she's one of the women we mentioned. Did she know that she would live this kind of life when she committed adultery? No, she didn't. She probably thought, my life is done. I've lost my family. I've lost my friends. I'm a reject. But she would go on to live a life that will make sure books like this are written. That will make sure we can point out in women in the Bible that we're after God's heart, and she's in that list. So it doesn't matter what you've done or what you're currently doing. What matters is you repenting and going back to God. So that's it for today. Our last story that I need to record a review for is Unafraid, and it's about Mary. I'm working on the consistency. I am working on the consistency, and we'll be done with the book, and we can move on to another one. I feel like I miss reading other books. The reason why I've also stopped reading is because I knew I had to like give this review, and I didn't want to read other stories and then have a lot of stories meshed up in my mind. So let me finish this book so we can get into a new one. And like I said before, suggestions are welcome. If there's a specific book you want me to read and like review, that will be nice. But I think this story, definitely 8 out of 10 for me. The 2 will be because I always thought Bathsheba was a victim, but finding out that she was a willing participant in this really broke my heart. I was just like, oh, yeah. But yeah, 8 out of 10, and a lot of lessons to be learned in there. A lot of things I took from that story. Different aspects and characteristics of God I saw in that story as well. Like, guys, if you are just doing life without God or without Jesus Christ, I don't even know what to say to you. I don't know what to say to you, because I couldn't. I want to serve this God that gives people second chances and redeems them and blesses them beyond what they thought, despite what they did. That's the God I want to save, and that's the God I wish you also are serving. And if you're not serving that God yet, leave a comment and let's get you on track. Bye.